Now, on Enough Said, with KFAN Radio's Dan Barrero, attorney and HoldingCourtPodcast.com's Ron Rosenbaum. Enough Said.
It's been some unbelievable day and evening and year, and I have to tell you that I have met some of the most incredible competitors that I have ever competed against right here on the Republican Party.
Will you support him?
Well, to be perfectly candid with you, Jake, I'm just not ready to do that at this point. I'm not there right now, and I hope to, though, and I want to. But I think what is required is that we unify this party.
Welcome back to another edition of Enough Said. My name's Dan Barrero, the host of the program, along with Justin Gard helping out again this week. We appreciate it. And Lori Fisher in the control room to help us set up yet another political story and a summer that, and even fall, you could say, is going to be very entertaining, I think, Lori, if nothing else.
Yes, I agree. Donald Trump looks to be the GOP nominee for president, this leading Republican leaders to having to decide should they unite or stand up against Trump for office. Many of them using the word support but not endorse. And then you heard Paul Ryan, House Speaker, saying he's not ready to back Trump. Dan.
Well, I think Ryan was going to get ripped either way. This is big news when the Speaker of the House says, well, I got to think about it and I got to work up to supporting the Republican presumptive nominee, right? But if he immediately says, you know what, my party, right or wrong, by God, I'm going for it, what would media members, the jackals, be doing? They'd be saying, what a fraud. He's supposed to stand for a different set of principles than Donald Trump, and immediately now he sees he's got to go in the direction of supporting whoever the candidate is. So my guess is eventually what he's saying is, I'm trying to get some reassurances, and maybe in his own mind he also has to decide what's the best for the future of the Republican Party. Is it to support him, or is it to let's just take another hit and hope that 4 to 8 years from now we can put the old party back together?
My favorite part of that interview was later when he talked about the Republican Party. He said, Jake, we're the party of Lincoln, we're the party of Reagan, and you're not always going to get somebody like that. And this is one of those cases, so I'm not really sure what to do. Now, could Trump offer him the VP? Everybody's saying no to Trump right now, it seems like. Ben Carson's saying I'm out. Kevin McHale is saying I'm out. Who's that?
Ivanka.
You think so? Which one is Ivanka?
With Donald,
I can't tell. There's always those three women right next to him. I can't tell which one is which.
That's not his wife. I think that's his daughter.
But is there another daughter?
There might be another daughter. I'm not sure. She was in the show, the TV show. That's why we all know her. And it's Donald Trump, so he's capable of doing anything. It's a good suggestion. I don't think Ryan would do it.
Seems
unlikely. Because I think Ryan is never going to get to the point where I think he's going to be comfortable with such a wild card, because the guy is a wild card.
Is he still a wild card at this point, though?
Yes.
We've been saying that for how many months now? Since 2014.
It depends on what you mean by wild card.
Well, he's going to be the nominee.
Yes, that's true.
He's going to probably find an established politician to run with him and vice president. And there's still a lot of people that don't want Hillary. Well, he could do a Democrat. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
that's his other threat. So it's going to be wild is a great way to determine it. You mentioned it going into the fall. It's going to be crazy. It already is crazy, and now I think it's even going to get crazier when he just goes up against whoever's on the Democrat side.
The other thing to get into, there's a lot of media recriminations. Is that the term for it? Where what did we do wrong? What did we underestimated what he might be capable of doing, et cetera, which I'm actually starting to gag over because I think it's gotten a little crazy. But I will say this: part of the reason that the media ended up covering him to the degree he was covered was he was accessible. So the notion that any TV station network is going to turn down an opportunity to get extra time with a presidential candidate, why is that a bad idea?
No.
In fact, I would argue that other candidates, I'm hoping, would be more willing to take that opportunity rather than always determining, only on with certain shows, certain ground where we feel like we can't get hurt. That's part of the reason that he was on over and over again. He was available. He was good TV.
Good ratings.
People tried to push back on him.
We're going to have to leave it there. I have a feeling Trump will be a staple of the show moving forward. Next up, we are learning more about Prince's alleged addiction. A Minnesota attorney says the day before he died, the singer's reps reached out to a California doctor who specializes in addiction treatment. He sent his pre-med son, and the son was one of the people who found Prince in the elevator. And now the DEA has also joined the investigation. Dan.
Well, I know this was a very dramatic turn for a lot of people. Like, oh my God, he maybe was finally, Prince, on the verge of really trying to get this taken care of. Pardon me for being a little bit skeptical and cynical of that, because my gut tells me this wasn't the first time that people had intervened on his behalf or tried to reach out and say, here's an individual or an organization that might help you. And this is always the pattern, I think, with those who are dealing with what apparently Prince has been dealing with. And we're still not sure the extent of what was happening here. And you also find out, I think, this shadowy world where we have the pre-med son of a doctor being sent here with apparently drugs to administer. And you go, wait a minute, this also needs to be investigated. Something's a little bit fishy to me with all of this story. But when you're in this world, this is, I think, how shadowy and goofy it can get, unfortunately.
That's why I'm back and forth on how I feel about the doctor, because I feel like I don't know much about the doctor or the clinic, but they're clearly pretty well renowned, right? Because they're in California. They were called specifically. He's allegedly one of the experts when it comes to opioid addiction.
I guess, yeah.
And so I go back and forth on it. I feel like he was trying to do right by the patient in this case. You know what I mean? Because Prince is what? Mr. Secretive.
Yeah.
He's Mr. Privacy.
Right.
He maybe doesn't trust doctors here, even though there are some. And there's also, the attorney said they were going to put him with a doctor in Minnesota, and then maybe we were going to come back to California. That was the hope. So there is some illegalities there, and I think that's why you've seen the lawyer jump out right away. But it's kind of gray for me when you talk about a very public figure who's very private and kind of wants to control things. I don't know how I feel. I don't know if I'm that offended by the doctor sending his son, I guess.
To me, he wasn't even licensed to practice, the son. And so regardless of what your intent is, delay the day and say, all right, we're going to come together. If I can't come that morning, whenever he was, or the night before, you're going to have to delay the day. But again, there are not other doctors that are going to respect his privacy. I think we're going to learn that this was a recurring issue, an ongoing problem, and in the end, you have to want to be helped by whoever is there to help you. And to me, to only be able to go with one person, I'm not sure I especially buy it. Now, we talked a little bit about this last week, that we can't forget that in the end, if indeed this was about what we think it is, that Prince is the person who victimized himself the most. But it is important, I think, to discourage doctors from getting involved, even if they're seduced by the idea of working on a famous person, to discourage them from helping this person actually feed his or her addiction, right?
Yes.
That should be done, and that's part of what this investigation should absolutely be.
And you wonder if it was Prince's people that wanted to get him help this time, or it was Prince, because he should have stayed in Moline a lot longer than he did, if you remember.
And that was a privacy issue.
That was a privacy issue. He got carried off the plane. I think people right there, they were probably trying to get him help.
I have to stop you guys here.
What did they do?
We have to move on.
Okay.
Sorry. Toxicology reports are expected in a few weeks. Enough said. Looks like St. Cloud State's baseball team will be able to compete in North Carolina. MNSCU lifted the travel ban. The ban was put in place after North Carolina passed a law banning transgender people, or requiring them to use bathrooms that match their birth gender. MNSCU says they're confident the law will be repealed. Dan.
I'm confused by the backpedal on this. If you believe the issue here is that important, and if you believe you need to make a statement, I'm not sure I understand why you back away now, because the federal government has threatened and said, all right, you have until, I think it's Monday, or there's going to be gunfight at the OK Corral on this thing. There's going to be a showdown. But as far as I understand it, in the meantime, that doesn't mean the law would not be in place. So if this is really that important, and Ron and I talked about this a few weeks ago, I'm not a fan of governors of states, I think, grandstanding, even on issues this significant, because where does that end in terms of laws that are passed legislatively, legally, by states, to later maybe be challenged in court? So, to me, are they backpedaling because of the pressure, because they feel like a couple of baseball teams really shouldn't be caught in the middle of this? I'm not buying. I didn't buy it on the front end. I'm not sure I buy the backpedal either, because if you meant it, stand by it until you know that it is absolutely going to be overturned.
To quote Ron, though, but isn't it with for me, it was the students more than anything. If the governor wants to do it with state employees, fine, they're your employees. If MNSCU wants to do it with employees, fine, they're your employees. But these are college students.
Absolutely.
And if you want
they're not state employees.
They're not state employees, and they shouldn't be pawns for whatever agenda or whatever cause you're trying to champion.
Well, you know the comeback, though. The comeback
that?
is the cause is so important that if some people have to lose their opportunity, then that's the statement that has to be made.
But shouldn't those people have at least a say in it? They should have a seat at the table a little bit. When you're an employee, I get it, it's different. When you're just a college, and forget about about athletics? If it was just a student function, which they did have one in North Carolina after MNSCU ruled and the students actually went to it, they should be able to decide for themselves. If they don't want to go, if the team says, you know what, this is our opportunity, we should make take a stand against this, I'd support them. But if they want to go, I don't think they're endorsing North Carolina. So,
well, the key thing
coming up on Enough Said.
How often have we talked about bullying and accountability with parents? We've talked about it.
Without the parent getting involved, we feel that just giving a ticket, finding someone out of this, isn't the answer.
Welcome back to Enough Said. Parents in several towns in Wisconsin may have to pay up if their child is a bully. Get this, the parent will have 90 days to address their child's behavior. After that time, if police determine their child is still a bully, the parents will be issued a $366 fine. Dan, does the punishment fit the crime? Well, if you can call it a crime.
Well, yeah, that's a good question too. In theory, I kind of like this idea.
Yes.
For a reason I'll get to in a minute. In reality, I don't think it's going to last because you're going to have the obvious issues of, well, not all parents are going to be able. If you try to spread this wide, it's going to become a classist issue. Not everybody has this kind of money because the fine is, what do we say, $366?
$366 first, then I think $600 something for the next one.
I think the important, though, message that shouldn't be missed here that is helpful is the parents are absolutely the key to this issue. Because how many times, I've got teachers in my family, you do as well, you can present a parent with video evidence that their kid is bullying someone or beating up somebody or taking something or cheating on a test. And what some parents will say is, doctor, what led to that? I'm not buying this.
Show me the rest.
How do I know? Exactly right. And so what the moral of the story is, if you're really going to deal with this issue in schools, you have to bring the parent component into it as much as possible. Because a lot of these kids, they have no idea because they haven't been taught that there has to be some accountability. So in theory, I like the concept of getting the parents in on it, but I don't think the money part's it's not going to hold up.
Well, I heard when we talked about it on the radio this week, two things on the money. Number one, people might not be able to afford it, as you mentioned. And number two, the rich parents might not care about writing the fine.
Good point.
They said on both ways, and they'll just fix it. They'll say, how much is it?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Don't do it
Another
again.
good message for the kid. Well,
exactly
they
right.
even say don't do it again.
Well, they might not, or with
a
wink and a nod, they might do that. But it does shift the accountability back. And that's really, I think, I doubt that this fine system is actually going to come into place. I don't even know if that's legal. Can you fine parents at a school? I don't know if you can do that.
I wish
legally.
the answer were yes.
You could, yeah.
But you're probably,
So I don't even know if this would even pass, like if you could do this legally. But I do think it's a wake-up call to say we are thinking about other ways because clearly, and we've talked, how often have we talked about bullying and accountability with parents? We've talked about it forever, and nothing really has changed the problem. I had one good answer on the radio show this week. You have to somehow incentivize good behavior first before punishing bad. And people said, oh, that's embarrassing. You should just act.
Well, you're going to start paying for good behavior?
Everybody gets
Come
trophies.
on.
Well, maybe not paying, but you get some candy.
Couple of bucks?
Exactly. But we're already way down this road. We've already lost the battle of we can't punish with accountability for bad behavior. So why don't we at least try to do the everybody gets a trophy, which I know you love so much.
Yeah, I do love it. The sad part about this, we're kind of kidding about it, but it's such a serious issue.
It is.
At schools everywhere. We've talked about it in the city of St. Paul. It's an ongoing issue. Well, there was another teacher, I think, that got attacked just the other day while I was out of town.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is that until you, and I don't know that this is ever going to happen, until you convince more parents that their kid is capable of bad behavior and needs to be held somewhat accountable for it, we got no chance. I just don't think teachers cannot do this on their own. Principals cannot do this.
We have to move on, and it's something to point out, too. A lot of kids who bully are bullied themselves, so that's sad as well. You knew we'd get back to politics. When it comes to political scandals, it seems like we have a short memory or a short attention span. Roll Call opinion writer Matt Lewis wrote on why scandals and gaffes no longer mean political death. Dan, does nothing stick these days?
Well, I think it was a good piece, and it's true. And I think if, I use the term Pitchfork Nation probably too much, but in Pitchfork Nation, every scandal is horrific, or every misstatement is horrific, or the end of the world. And the truth is, some of them probably are bad, but we can't tell the difference anymore because the outrage is so heavy each and every minute that I think we just brush it off and wait for the next one, and I don't think we can distinguish anymore. So I think there's something to the theory that, I don't know if nothing sticks, but very little sticks in this day and age.
And a lot of it is because something else is right around the corner.
Absolutely.
Right around the bend. And you kind of expect that something else is going to happen. And people have their own problem. Like Pitchfork Nation is loud, but do we think it's always big? Like sometimes it might
we
just
assume
be,
it's big. The media does. You're right. It's not always big.
It might just be a minority.
8 people online.
Exactly. Or
Right.
a club at a college campus or some activist group. And the rest of us are just thinking, well, I'm not that worked up about it. I really don't have an opinion on it. I have bigger problems in my life. I can't worry about that one. And I'm going to hear about something else tomorrow. And really, when it comes to crisis management, if you do say something bad or say something wrong, we've always talked about this. It's always best, or do something wrong. It's always best to just get out in front of it, say you did it, apologize, even if you don't mean it.
Even if it's insincere.
And move on, because the longer you drag it out, then I think more people do say, well, what's going on here? And they pay closer attention. If you just rip the Band-Aid off, get it out in the open, people will forget about it in 2 days.
There's another part of this, too, and it has to do with the how hyper-partisan things are online between, lefties and righties, I think. And so the assumption is, well, was that transgression that bad? Or is it just because you're a righty and a lefty said it, and so you want to make it bigger than it is? So when you start thinking that way, I think for those of us who try to be a little bit more centrist, we go, well, maybe it probably wasn't that bad, even if it might have been that bad, because we assume it's being blown out of proportion for political reasons. And I think everybody gets worn down by that process. At the end of the day, it's like, well, what am I left with? What should I actually be outraged about?
Coming up on Enough Said.
What were they doing in Florida?
Correct.
We don't buy spring training.
Well, we were told it was calm, peaceful, and everything was going great.
Well, they must not have been doing it.
Guardsy, I'm kind of amused because we've got some Twins Bobos in town who basically told the rest of us, lighten up. This team's going to be really good again. In fact, they're going to be better than they were a year ago. All the young guys who've made strides are going to take the next step. Buxton's ready. Why wait? Now they're hammering the club because they're off to a horrific start. And it is, I think we would agree,
it's terrible.
Horrific. So where were they? Where some of us at least were saying, not necessarily it was going to be this bad, because I didn't think it was going to be this bad.
No.
But that, a lot of assumptions are being made a little soon on the next step in this team's development. The rotation was deep, you could say, in terms of numbers, but was there anybody spectacular in it behind the guy who got suspended last year, Santana? Bullpen, I think most of us said, you need more. This is not second-guessing after the fact. This is what some of us were saying then. But now I guess it's okay to open season to just pound away on all aspects of the Twins at this early juncture.
All because the owner said that he's not going to make any sweeping changes, which if you've followed the Twins since they got here, they've never made any sweeping changes.
Are they more country clubby than
they kind of
600
are.
First Avenue?
They really are. And when Paul Molitor was the outside of the box pick, more or less, for a manager, I mean, he's one of us. You don't get more country club than that.
No.
And you know me, we like Molly, and he's a smart baseball guy.
How can you not like Molly?
But yeah, they're the country club. And it's not that they're losing. Because I didn't think they were going to automatically go to 90 wins from 83 like everybody else did.
A lot of people did.
Nationally, people were saying 77 to 83, and around here, people
look
were
like
saying
geniuses.
They do. Well, they may have oversold them with the way
Right.
they're playing right now. But it's not that they're losing. It's just that it's sloppy. And if it's not one thing, it's the other.
unprofessional.
Exactly. And that's what worries me the most about just the entire operation is what were they doing in Florida?
Correct.
We don't buy spring training.
Well, we were
hype.
told it was calm, peaceful, and everything
Exactly.
was going great.
Well, they must not have been doing any drills. That's why they must have just been hanging out by the ocean. That's why it was so peaceful, because missed pop-ups, guys out of position, bad relay throws, horrible at bats, starting pitching that can't get through
Too many
5 innings.
strikeouts
A
and not
ton of
enough home runs,
strikeouts,
yeah.
injuries, which you can't always help, but
Well,
I'm not
everybody's got
surprised.
those.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised
Well,
that they've lost, but
okay,
it's just bad to watch.
It's time for the Enough Said drill. Called the lightning round.
I had one good Jim Pohlad cheap shot I want to get in quickly if I can, and that is he's basically saying, hey, the players have failed here. You got to consider, Jim, the possibility
Who brought them?
that the vision of what this team could be is a little askew, too. He at least has to acknowledge that possibility.
Okay,
sorry,
back to the
Laura.
light. Are we ready?
Worth waiting
Yeah,
for.
Okay, let's go. Former Cleveland Browns quarterback Johnny Manziel back in the news for his mugshot. He turned himself in on a domestic assault charge. He tweeted, "At least I'm wearing a shirt this time." Manziel was referring to when he was arrested in 2012 for assault and having a fake ID. Dan.
I hate to say this,
You're
but
Johnny footballed out.
I'm footballed out, and
Yeah.
both of us were Johnny Football Bobos.
We were.
And we couldn't be more wrong
No.
about what he was going to be at the pro level. I mean, we were just complete idiots on it. But I don't I don't care about him anymore. I mean, I don't want to see anything bad happen to him.
And that's
but
the
there's
worry.
another guy. He's got to figure this out on his own. I can't invest in him any longer. Sorry, Johnny.
Next
That's not the
up,
worry.
California ups the age to buy cigarettes to 21, and plus this week the FDA announced new rules for e-cigarettes. Kids under 18 can't buy them anymore. Justin.
The e-cigs thing kind of came out of nowhere within the last 5 years, right? So it probably does make sense that they're taking a second look at it because they just came on the market and said, safer than cigarettes. And I don't know what the testing was done before that, but you see everybody now vaporizing, doing e-cigs. There's pop-up shops all over. And we really don't have any science or any history behind it, except we were told it was safe.
It was safer at least,
than smoking.
No, it makes sense. I think you're right.
Okay, it's no $1.6 billion jackpot like back in January, but the Powerball jackpot right now keeps getting bigger, more than $400 million. The odds of winning, though, 1 in more than 292 million. Dan.
Well, I hate this because I'm not a lottery player, but when the number starts rising, as Lori said, well, that's the point.
Yeah.
It reaches a certain point where you just you feel you owe yourself, I got to go do it. I know I have no chance, but when it reaches a certain level and it's getting closer to that, then I get tortured by it. I don't even understand. I had to be told how to do it, probably by you.
By me, yeah.
But
I was going to get a cut if you won, too. You told me I would get a cut of it.
I'll fall into the trap, and then, what's the code on the numbers? And I'll start doing all that crap, and it's going to lead to nothing. But I'll do it. I'm as big a rube as anybody.
Is it bad that I worry more about people I know winning because I'll be jealous than I actually worry about me winning?
Maybe they'll give you some.
I don't want other people to win it.
No.
That's my worst nightmare.
Well,
because I know I'm not going to win.
It's a selfishness coming through right
it's
there.
Very
There's no
self-absorbed.
question
I don't
about
want
that.
other people to win it. I'm not proud of it.
No, but at least you're honest about it.
I am.
Dan, if you win and give Justin a cut, can I have a sliver as well?
You can have, actually, you probably can end up with more than when the guards.
Most likely. Everybody here gets some.
Okay, next up, Wizard World Comic-Con is at the Mall of America this weekend. Favorite superhero or superpower? Justin.
I'd want to fly. Don't you think you'd want to fly? You wouldn't have to worry about TSA.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to worry about Highway 100.
Well, don't they all fly?
I don't know if
Well,
all
no, Spider-Man
superheroes
doesn't.
fly.
Spider-Man can move with the nets, right?
He's got to
From,
have
like,
the nets,
building to building.
and they're apparently endless. You can go as long, but I'd love flying. And for you, I think you'd like flying as well because you could avoid cyclists on the road.
I think Silver Surfer is
Silver
underrated.
Surfer?
Silver Surfer. Have you ever heard of him?
I don't know if
In fact, he's going to be in a new movie, I think, coming out. Yeah, Silver Surfer is underrated. But I will say this: there's another, I think, superhero movie coming out.
It's out tonight, I think.
I'm done with them.
Why?
Well, there's too many.
No.
It's endless, and they just create these convoluted plots, putting them together. We've had enough superhero films. Let's move on with the rest of our lives.
Do you like Ben Affleck as Batman?
No, I don't.
I don't think
gosh,
anybody
not at
that
all.
could be a whole segment again.
I don't think anybody likes
Okay,
that.
last but not least, just here to help you guys out. It's Mother's Day weekend. If you don't know, are you guys all set to help your kids out? Dan.
No. Well, I'm a little behind, but we just got back from Disney World. Does that count? I mean, it was really more for the kid, but can I count that as part of the Mother's Day experience for the mom?
I would think so.
I think
At
that's
my
gotta
house,
count.
that would certainly fly. Now, let me ask you this, and Lori, you can chime in here too. My wife has told me don't worry about the Mother's Day gift. That's the oldest trap in the book, correct?
Oh, God, yes.
I mean,
You
I
can't- you
still have to
do
give something. I've
Yeah,
been told,
because the moment
don't
you
get
do
anything.
that, then there's that look of what that on that day. Well, I did it. Okay, I guess you took me seriously. No,
So
you can't
you know
do
what
that.
moms want the most, though?
They want
The day
flowers?
off.
The
Oh,
day
they want the
off.
They
day
just
off.
want the day off.
But what
They
if my
do?
son doesn't want to hang out with me? He just wants to hang out with mom. That's
How
the
about
problem.
how about flowers, Lori? Is that big or is that a cliche?
Yeah, waste of money.
Seriously?
That's what
Waste of money. Actually, my wife would agree.
I just want time.
She's not
That's
big
it.
into flowers.
So you just want the whole day not being part of the rest of the family. You want to
Oh,
segregate
no, I
yourself.
just want to kind of do what I want. So the family could
I
be
got
part
you.
of it, but just kind of do what I want.
Yeah,
my
I think we're
son-
going to go see Jungle Book because
Oh,
that's what
good.
that's what my wife requested.
She
She said, "Let's go see Jungle Book on Sunday."
What
That's
if she
we're
wanted
gonna
to
do.
see the superhero movie that you just said you were done with? Would you allow it?
I would, but the beauty of it is she doesn't like She hates superhero movies
You know
more
your
than I
audience
do,
does.
because I like some of them, but I'm done with them. She'll be bored with that.
I would give my wife the day off, but my son doesn't want to hang out with me.